Incidentally, we have several more stories.
The legislature was carefully crafted to
22.2% inflation rates as of April this year. What does that say about where we are as a country?
I think Nigeria has resorted to being resilient.
When you call the police station, before they even leave, they take permission from
I don't think there's really anything on ground to improve.
the struggle, the ASU strike.
Minister of Education volunteered and said, give me 2 weeks.
It was a lie. The president never gave me any deadline.
What a wonderful opportunity to be back here again to get to spend this stretch of 3 hours, I should say, with here on Global Morning. Thank you everyone for tuning in to Global Television. We appreciate your time and the initiative you've taken to spend this part of your morning with us here on the program. I'm Uyi Agbomofuegbe, and my colleague who has brought her best version to the show today is also here on Global Morning.
The Queen. Good morning, I'm Queen Agaba, and welcome to Global Morning. Thank you for joining us on the program.
Okay, great. So it's a Tuesday, Queen. All right. And it's again a chance for us to just do a summary, in some cases even expand on some of these conversations that have been running since last week. I would always say Nigeria is evolving, even though part of that evolution is also pleasant. When you look at some of the developments that are not remarkably, if you like, palatable because of the kind of experiences, the sort of outcomes that we find. I mean, yesterday, our colleagues Juma Manson and the other gentleman, Ramsey, both spent time talking about tanker explosions here. What are the real issues? What should we have done differently to avert them? Of course, they say you don't cry about spilled milk, right? But again, we can't run away from those questions and all of that, even though that's part of our big conversation today, however, from a different angle altogether. And they still have the issue of people saying, well, you know what, I joked off camera that you are HR consultant now.
So I guess I'm starting work now.
Right.
I think there's a market, but not the conventional market that we know now. You know, when they say go to school, people are now thinking literally outside of the box, not the usual go and submit your CV in this office, walk about.
Right.
There are a lot of people, young people who are done with school, who are embracing other things that are not your conventional labor market. Take, for instance, content creation.
Right.
Take, for instance, tech. The tech market, the tech world has evolved, particularly here in Nigeria. We're picking up, but we're doing amazingly well. Young guys, young men, young women are doing so well. So people are beginning to be innovative. What we will normally not look at or say, will not think that is sort of a work or something, a profession that should be, is giving people millions of naira. People are doing things. Just take, for instance, like I said, content creation. Who would believe that you pick up your phone, just do a dance, say whatever it is you want to say at the comfort of your home, counter somebody, just create content, and you're cashing out in the millions. The views. Sometimes you see things and you wonder how it's trending, how people are. So there's a market, but not the conventional markets that we know of. And while people are shared themselves into groups now, those that want to go for the conventional market, look for jobs here, look for jobs, the office jobs, people are creating jobs for themselves. When I'm saying creating jobs for themselves, I'm not just even talking about fashion designers now or, small scale businesses.
Makeup artists.
The very unlikely and very unconventional way of making money legitimately.
Right.
Legitimately. So
You see, I like the emphasis you lay on legitimately, because the legitimacy of the money you make is very important, right? Because that's what will give you joy at the end of the day. That's what will give you satisfaction. And that will be the basis on which you find a moral courage to inspire young people coming from behind. I mean, I would say, how do you testify of your blessing if it's not legitimate, for example, right? And how do you, talking from a mass perspective, how do you get to a point where your children are old enough to know that, okay, my father's accomplished this and this and this, and they are happy about it, they feel, well, you've given them a head start to life. However, how do you also explain that the source or the sources of these funds are questionable? All right. But of course, I know people say, well, people don't really have much of conscience these days and all of that. But you see, I think for the long term is very important. In fact, it's critical because whether you like it or not, it will rub off on many levels, not just on you, but on generations after you, beginning with your children, which is of course the next generation after you. But again, society has not been thinking much along those lines in recent times because everybody feels like we are all in the survival mode right now. The important thing is survive. The end justifies the means. But we can't take away the fact that if we live with that mentality in our heads, we've already lost the justification altogether to hold public officers accountable. Because if you feel the end justifies the means, if you feel you can cut corners today and bend rules tomorrow, or even break them outright, and then turn around, do 180 degrees, as a friend of mine would say, and then criticize those in public offices, then you're just being, you're creating a case of the kettle calling the pot black. Who's calling who black? Is it the kettle? Because they are both black after all.
For ourselves,
right?
Also, so that when we do the right things, we cannot point fingers. They say you cannot point fingers when you're doing the exact same thing.
So
So
the person.
think for ourselves,
Right.
and do things legitimately.
There's a lot to talk about this morning. It feels like a Monday for me, even though it's actually a Tuesday, but what more can I say? Let's take a quick break at this point. When we return, big headlines from across our national dailies will come your way. Global Morning is your top morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
A Global Morning aims to deliver newspaper reviews and latest news with experts on key global issues.
And at the same time, keeping you well informed about important events, both national and internationals.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of information, helping viewers like you start your day well informed.
Stay connected from Mondays to Sundays to a wide range of the latest news making rounds on Global Morning.
We're on the road to protest.
The president meets all of our demands.
This is Global Morning.
Many thanks for staying with us on Global Morning. It's time for us to bring to you the front pages of our national dailies. And this morning, we're starting with the Blueprint newspaper. What are the headlines on the front page of the Blueprint? Big story says, Supreme Court dismisses Fubara's appeal. Amaiwule-led Rivers Assembly remains. Jam to candidates. Come to headquarters if you have biometric challenges. And then we have, regarding the big story, Supreme Court dismissing Fubara's appeal. Right there says, reserves judgment in 4 other appeals. No judgment against Fubara. RVSG. And then we have Oko Jumbo still in charge, says Reps Group. Assent to South Development Commission Bill. Pandef begs Tinubu. My visit to Obasanjo, not about 2027, says Atiku Abubakar. And then we also have right here, one of the stories says, federal government announces 100 billion naira series to subscription to tackle housing deficit. NCDC confirms over 24,000 diphtheria cases, 1,264 deaths. Biafra, court adjourns as Kanu challenges Yanko's jurisdiction. And then we have Katsina, Musawa local government engages 75 Islamic scholars to pray against banditry. These are the stories we have on the front page of the Blueprint. Okay, we have one sports story there that says AFCON 2025 Super Eagles among title contenders. Well, these are the stories we have on the front page of the Blueprint.
All right, time to now take it to the Vanguard newspaper and bring you some of the big headlines this morning. The Vanguard begins with a big headline here that says hardship. That's a kicker. Many governors desert states to live in Abuja. NLC laments. You know, I'm hearing a voice in my head, the one that you normally hear in skits that says, why are you running? You know, how do you leave your state going by this allegation by the NLC to come to Abuja? The question is, are you, excuse me, taking your citizens with you? If you're running from Oyo State, for example, you're running from Medo, you're running from Enugu, you're running from Kano, you're running from Bayelsa. All right, are you taking your citizens with you to Abuja? Of course, time and again since 1999, we've heard stories about legislators, federal legislators, who don't even bother to come to their constituencies. All right, senators, members of House of Reps, of course, local government chairmen, who don't come to their secretariats. They only come at the end of the month because allocation has landed. They do the splitting and then they're back to the state capital. For those who even live in their state at all, for others, Abuja is the way to go. So all roads lead to Abuja for them. But for how long can we have these kind of public servants? I mean, people who are supposed to be servants, all right, and then they are now the ones being.
Now, why there are certain states like
right.
There's no development. You've seen a particular road for years, how bad and how the structure of the state has been like that
for years.
And these are the reasons why, because you can't govern a state from another state,
right.
because you're not in that state to see for yourself what happens. You don't inspect projects yourself. You know, you don't care about how allocations are allocated if, you know, it gets to
the grassroots,
and all of that. I think we need to do better as a people, particularly when we say we're public servants, governors in particular. We need to begin to look out for our people, look out for our states. Interestingly, you were talking about, you know, a governor that spends more time in Abuja. There are a lot of governors like that. They have houses here, they have businesses here, they have literally everything here. So all they do is visit once in a month, like.
So they are adjunct governors, like we have adjunct professors. Well, incidentally, this headline has two riders for us this morning. NLC frowns at proscription of unions in Kogi State. Commissions 10 CNG buses for workers. That's a good move. And then left corner of the Vanguard newspaper today, the kicker says, Edo Governorship Poll Tribunal. PDP Aswe-Ighodalo's camps in disarray as Okpebholo closes case. Find all of those details on page 10 of today's issue of the Vanguard newspaper. PDP crisis. Legal advisor throws weight behind Udo Okoye. States now mandate drug test for appointees, employees. Well, that seems to be radical, but it's a step in the right direction. Then we have these canvas of some kind made up of pictures of several governors here and other public servants, including executive secretaries and directors general. Here is saying 2024 Vanguard Personality of the Year Award. All right, so you have one of those right on the front page of the Vanguard newspaper. All right, but that's all we have from the Vanguard this morning. Our next port of call will be the Punch newspaper, and Queen Agaba has all of those headlines for us.
Well, looking at the Punch, big story here says 2027 Obasanjo, Atiku, and others meeting no threat, says APC. Rider there says ruling party unfazed as Labour Party, NNPP divided over possible Atiku Obasanjo collaboration ahead of next election. Hospitals groan over debts as federal government 50% power subsidy delays. I think one of the hospitals was in the news recently. Would that be UC?
Yeah, UCH Ibadan. University College Hospital Ibadan. Right.
With people with patients and their generators. And then there was another hospital.
Because there's been total power outage.
That's really sad.
It is.
And then I was seeing some of the wards, blood bank, some of the areas in the hospital, complete blackouts, and we wonder how. And people are supposed to carry out operations in that hospitals. There's an intensive care unit in that hospital without constant power supply.
So how's that possible?
How is that possible? And then I saw another hospital in the east. This time around, patients were leaving or were looking for alternatives or something like that because of the poor services, lack of beds, the structure, the facility, and all of that. It's been like that for years, and nothing has been done about it. I think that we need to also look into our healthcare and investigate whatever needs to be investigated in that healthcare sector. 800 surrendered Boko Haram's militants undergoing de-radicalization. Wow. We have...
Did that come as a shock to you?
That's a Defense headquarters. 800 surrendered Boko Haram militants undergoing de-radicalization, says Defense headquarters. Court adjourns indefinitely as Kanu demands case transfer to Southeast. Well, these are the stories we have. We also have why Rivers withdrew Supreme Court's appeal against pro-Wike lawmakers, says Fubara. Uber driver killed, body dumped on Lagos Road. Edo Tribunal, Okpebolo closes defense as lone witness admits overvoting. And then we have varsity admission. JAMB sets 320 UTME benchmark for under 16 candidates.
That's strategic.
320 UTME benchmark for under 16.
I think that's what we call cutoff mark, right?
Cutoff mark, 320 for under 16.
Under 16.
So there are two cutoff marks now.
Yes, so there's one for those who are below 16 and those who are above 16. So I don't know, but the left side of my head tells me that JAM is trying to minimize or check age. Be a bit more stern with the age bracket thing.
Why is that so? I thought we had gone past the age.
Well, when the immediate past Minister of Education, Professor Tahir Mamman, flew the kites, as I like to say, because that's what government officials always do. They just think of a policy, then they fly the kites. They try to see how Nigerians will react to it. And of course, there was severe backlash against it. We also discussed it here on a number of occasions on the program. And then they said, well, it's not a policy yet. We're just trying to test the waters. We're still collaborating. We're still consulting and still seeing what people think about this whole policy proposition, as it were. Even though it was not formalized at that time, there hadn't been structures around it and all that. But from these, if you like, these this kind of moves we're seeing from JAM, all right, these are already in windows, as they say, that, well, something's happening. Because if you say you are setting 320 as a benchmark for under 16 candidates, that means you're trying to say that people must prove that they have earned the right to get into university before they are 18. So if you are not tough enough academically to hit that cutoff mark of 320 at 16, of course it leaves you no choice if you're bent on gaining university admission in Nigeria than to try again at 17. And God forbid that still doesn't work. You got to, as they say, dust yourself up and try again when you're 18 until you eventually hit the cutoff mark. That's what it means. So you're not asking yourself, what is then the cutoff mark for people who are above 16?
Exactly. And why can't it be the same cutoff mark?
I mean, across board.
Across board. If you are 16, regardless of your age, if
Yes.
you're 16, 17, if you are able to meet up the cutoff mark for those who are above 18,
Right.
18 and above, it means that you are capable. And you are,
You have the
grit,
mental, exactly,
to be
capability to pull it off.
Yes, to get into the university. So I wonder why the cutoff mark. And I really think that 320 is a bit high.
Yeah, I had to look at it a second time because I thought it was supposed to be
It has to
220.
be a genius.
Yes, but if you're doing 320, I know less.
You know, their passengers have attempted to rob them, attempted to strangle them, attack them, and they even now have cutlasses, you know, with them. I just want to.
Global Morning is your top morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
A Global Morning aims to deliver newspaper reviews and latest news with experts on key global issues.
And at the same time, keeping you well informed about important events, both national and internationals.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of information, helping viewers like you start your day well informed.
Stay connected from Mondays to Sundays to a wide range of the latest news making rounds on Global Morning.
We're on the road to protest.
The president meets all of our demands.
This is Global Morning.
Well, many thanks for staying with us. We apologize for that break due to technicalities. But we were talking about safety measures, particularly in this part of the country where not only are passengers scared for their lives, drivers as well, e-drivers and commercial drivers, offline drivers are also scared for their lives. So some of the driver was even telling me that for the offline drivers, it's even better for them, picking up passengers at night because they're at will to, choose whoever it is that gets into their vehicle. Sometimes when they drive and they feel like it's not safe, they look at the faces of those who, get in their cabs. But for the online drivers, whoever, has booked you, you have to carry. And if
like blind trust or blind date. Right.
And if you continue to cancel like that, at intervals,
you end up not making money, and then your rating goes down.
And so yes, so I think that we should be looking at how drivers can also be safe, the safety of drivers, of our e-drivers as well, because some people do businesses at night. Some people, their work requires them moving at very odd hours. Legitimate jobs. And then if these riders are continually scared for their lives, there's no safety measures for them, people might find it difficult to commute to their various destinations at odd hours. So we also have to look at the various apps, and then there's a way we can track things that capture the passengers. If we can have cameras in these cabs and all of these things, where just to ensure that our drivers are also safe, because these people are people's fathers, people's brothers, breadwinners. They're part of us as well. So let us ensure that there's safety for both parties, the passengers and the drivers as well. These are the stories we have on the front page of the paper this morning. We'll move on to our next point of call.
All right, let's take a look at the Nation newspaper, everyone. Incidentally, the Nation newspaper this morning, top left corner begins with the JAM story again. Says JAM okays under 16 WizKids for 2025 UTME. I like how it puts it. It says they are WizKids. All right. Then the writer says 2 million likely to write exam. That's talking about the aggregates of candidates for this year. What else? Atiku Imoke Tambuwal meets Obasanjo in Abeokuta. Of course, the former vice president has said, look, this meeting was not about 2027. It was a different thing altogether. But politicians and Nigerians have been here before, so we'll see how it pans out. Kanu rejects judge again. Court adjourns case indefinitely. Cracking the legal tough nuts of states creation. You see all of these on law section pages 13 to 18. And they bring it down just a little beneath the nameplate. It says Dangote, Dangote Pojo begins 308 GT assembly in Kaduna. Oh, that's an interesting collaboration. Dangote Pojo begins 3008 GT assembly in Kaduna. And Nakon, that's a kicker for you. Pilgrim will miss Hajj. Find those details on the Nation newspaper, page 3. And then the Star headline tells us, Supreme Court dismisses Fubara's appeal against 26 lawmakers with 3 riders here. Appellants fined 4 million government, ruling not against governor. Maihule predicts end to rascality. Okpebholo calls one witness, closes case before tribunal. Action throws PDP Ighodalo into disarray. And then the last one here tells us, I'm sure we have 2 more, maybe 3. It says the right corner of the paper, illegal workers face ban in UK. Palestinians won't return to Gaza. That is, of course, credited to U.S. President Donald Trump, a man who has not even done a month in office. Kicker, U.S. may slash injection to World Bank. Countdown begins to Alaafin's coronation. Your headlines, all of them, on the Nation newspaper today, and we flip over to the Guardian newspaper, and Queen Agaba will bring us those headlines.
Yes, looking at the Guardian newspaper, a big story here says, stronger Naira unsettles FX market amid waning dollar savings. And then we have above, just directly underneath the paper, the headline, we have drama as Supreme Court dismisses Fubara suit against pro-Wike lawmakers. I am ready to serve Nigeria in any capacity, says African Development Bank president. And then we have IBEDC pledges to restore power to UCH in 48 hours. We'll be monitoring that, and we hope that power is restored. Court adjourns trial indefinitely as Kanu queries judge jurisdiction. Speculations mount over 2027 as Atiku Obasanjo hold closed-door meeting. Women sexually violated or killed every 10 minutes in Nigeria. 800 ex-Boko Haram fighters undergoing de-radicalization, says Defense Headquarters. And then we have PDP Igodalo's camps in disarray, says APC as Okpebolo closes case at tribunal. But I just quickly want to react to the 800 ex-Boko Haram. This is the third time I'm seeing it in the papers, if I'm not mistaken, according to DHQ. Don't you think that if we consistently begin to say, okay,
we are de-radicalizing, it's even difficult to pronounce the word.
Every repented criminal. When I saw it, I didn't know how to react to it, but this is my honest opinion. Why are we de-radicalizing these people who say they are repentant? What are the metrics? How do we judge? How do we say that? How can we say that these people have truly repented?
You see, my understanding, because I think every right thinker in Nigeria is also curious about all of these. In fact, some people have moved from being curious to becoming inquisitive. When you say these are former Boko Haram soldiers or fighters, now they are repentant, therefore they are due for de-radicalization, right? Which of course also apparently suggests that they had been radicalized at a point. So you have to reverse that kind of orientation that they've gotten. But like you rightly asked, how do you determine what the metrics are? What are the factors that show clearly that this person voluntarily? It's not something you have to force them into. It's not something you have to talk them into or cancel them into. So how do we determine that? Because whether you like it or not, in the final analysis, the fear of the everyday Nigerian is, are these people not going to get back into society and then continue from where they left off? Are they not just looking for some soft landing to reintegrate, with the aim of unleashing more mayhem, maybe this time on a far larger scale than they had done previously? That's very important. But we're trusting the military to have the best interest of the nation at heart, because these are issues that hit at the very core of national security and public interest of overall, Nigerians. So we're trusting them to say they'll put their best foot forward, they'll put the interest of Nigeria front and center, as they say, so that it becomes the pivot for this conversation. Because if it's not driven by the interest of Nigerians, by national security concerns and priority, then what we're doing is not just politics, it is exercising futility. Because whether you like it or not, it is the military that is interacting or interfacing with these people. They got them arrested in the first instance. We don't know what the circumstances were, for how long they've been held in detention and all of that. And now you want to de-radicalize them, all right? So what is the process? But again, like I said, we understand the military has protocols for dealing with all of this, and we want to trust their best judgments in the best interest of Nigerians.
We trust their judgment, but one of my concerns is, wouldn't it be also difficult for people, or rather, wouldn't it people who are also in these camps, who are still unrepentant, the Boko Haram who are still unrepentant and still causing havoc, wouldn't they think that, at any point in time after committing all of their atrocities, they can just easily say that, you know what,
I'm repentant.
Surrender, I'm repentant, and then, they're empowered. Shouldn't stringent measures be taken to ensure that those who are looking to going into these, who are currently into these, would begin to disassociate themselves from these sort of things, rather than repenting and then they're being empowered, or they are going for training after. I mean, look at the lives that we have lost in the past years. Look at the girls who are traumatized till date. Look at the many havocs that, families that have been thrown into mourning, the different things that have been done.
How do we compensate for that?
Compensate them? And these people are sitting and watching the
How do we bring closure?
Look at my killers.
Because of these men died leaving spouses and children. And parents, siblings.
And then we say that, so in our doings, let us just, think fairly, think, do what is right. Look at the possible outcome of our actions that we're going to be taking, because this now will make banditry look lucrative.
After all, I can perpetrate a crime and then turn around the next day and say, well, I'm repentant.
Retire and I'm compensated for being a terrorist to Nigerians. But again, like you said, we trust that the military have the best interest of Nigerians at heart. These are the stories we have on the front page of The Guardian today.
All right.
I think we have the Nigerian News Direct.
It says here, top right corner of the Nigerian News Direct says to us, 100-day power outage, IBEDC, UCH seal agreement to restore power following Delabu's intervention. Of course, that was the one Queen mentioned a while ago, the University College Hospital in Ibadan.
And we hope to see the power restored in 48 hours.
Right, because that's one of our foremost health facilities in this country, right? It's arguably number one referral center in this country as far as health is concerned, right? NUC moves to improve quality of private universities, reviews application fees to 25 million naira. And then Star headline reads, Oyo hospitality sector sacked LG chairman, Osun government APC differ on appeal court judgment. Why I withdrew my appeal against Amayewule, Governor Fubara. Mixed reactions as Atiku, Tambuwal, others meet Obasanjo. Okay, you can see a picture of the gentleman here. Starting from left, you have former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, also, of course, he doubled as the former candidate of the People's Democratic Party in the 2023 general election. And then you have former President Chief Olusegun Obasanjo. And then there is Ogun State's governor, I should say former Cross River State Governor Leo Imoke there. And then there's a former Sokoto State Governor, the immediate past one, talking about Aminu Tambuwal, all four gentlemen paying a visit to former President Olusegun Obasanjo. All right. Well, those are the headlines this morning from the Nigerian News Direct newspaper. Daily Trust has more details, more headlines for you, and Kunagaba will bring them to us.
Yes, looking at the front page of the Daily Trust, big story says 2027. Additional hints at presidential run. He will have our support, LND. Atiku meets Obasanjo over coalition. I think, let me not endorse anybody. Palestinians will have no right to return under Gaza plan, according to President Donald Trump. Japa, one doctor attending to 1,800 cancer patients in Nigeria or in the US?
No, in Nigeria, of course. That's giving you an insight into the Japa syndrome and its impact on our healthcare system in Nigeria.
No wonder we're seeing tweets around.
You see the ratio there?
Yes, how understaffed most of our medical centers.
One doctor attending to 1,800 cancer patients in Nigeria.
How effective can he be?
We're not talking malaria. We're not talking, fever basically, or headache. We're talking of cancer. So regardless of the stage of cancer, even for example, if it's stage 4 cancer, you have, give or take, one doctor to 1,800 cancer patients. It makes your head spin, really.
It really does. And then we wonder why, we have a lot of cancer, because in other countries, you see how cancer patients are, properly managed, properly diagnosed.
Even when it's a clearly terminal case, but the management is excellent.
Yes. I can tell you that this year, I've heard about, just this year alone, about 3 people who have died from cancer in this year. And so sometimes it could stem from the lack of proper medical care, proper attention, medical attention given to these cancer patients, regardless. Sometimes it might not even be stage 4 cancer. It could be at the early stages, but we can just imagine 1,800 patients to one doctor. 6 die in Jigawa, Niger road crashes. And then residents raise alarm over money doublers in Abuja community. Al-Khali's murder, court recalls General Mohammed for cross-examination. Police retirement crisis festers. Top officers refuse to leave over IGP's tenure extension. Rider also says court to hear suit against PSC March 18. And then we have, we're not aware of any failure to comply with directive, PSC. And also, exit honorably, retired AIG counsels. These are the stories we have on the front page of the Daily Trust newspaper.
Time to turn to the Daily Times for you, since we are doing all of this on a daily basis now. All right, about the nameplate, one headline with a picture of the leader of the proscribed indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB or IPOB. It says Justice Yanko recuses himself from Nnamdi Kanu's trial again. And then just beneath the nameplates, the headline here reads, Group calls for solidarity protest against Shell Petroleum. Atiku Tambuwal Imoke meets Obasanjo behind closed doors. And then we have a writer that tells us consultations for coalition ahead of 2027 on front burner, says XNWC member. People have been telling, we understand, the former Vice President Atiku Abubakar to take a back seat this time in light of 2027 and instead bring forward someone else altogether, maybe a far younger person, maybe someone who has not been, for want of better, was tainted by the everyday politics that we play in this country, someone who will be not only popular, but will be liked by the majority of Nigerians, someone who has the wits, who understands the issues, someone who is on the ground, you know, and someone who can drive change in light of global realities. But the question is, are politicians ready for that conversation just yet? Is it not still going to be a matter of choosing one person, picking one person from the pool of waiting candidates? Because there are people who have been waiting. It's more like there's a queue. So you've got to allow people to take their turns. After all, former Vice President Atiku Abubakar has tried, from what we understand, about half a dozen times to be president. It hasn't worked out just yet. So people are saying, why don't you take a backseat for a second and allow someone else try, even on the same platform of the PDP? That's one argument, that's one point, that's one position. But there's a different proposition that says, look, it must not be the PDP going the whole hog all by itself. You can collaborate, as they say in music industry, which means you can have a coalition. All right, it can be amongst PDP, it can be someone else altogether, but these parties in collaboration, or if you like, in coalition with others, can form a formidable opposition against the APC going into 2027, and then bring forward a candidate who has never been in the spotlight of politics, so to say. And many people are saying, well, why don't we consider the current president of the AFGB, whose tenure is about cycling out, by the way, talking about Dr. Akinwumi Adesina. All right, and this interview just granted recently has even now fired up that conversation further, because it was categorically asked, would you run for president in Nigeria? And the man does a song, I'm not available, they know they see me, and all of that. But the hint was clear, because he says, look, I'm in favor of the call to serve my country. And that's a message already. People are saying, why don't you look at that for a second? People are saying, yeah, in finance, in consulting of some kind, or whatever it is, you can bring these people back home, because Nigeria needs fresh breath at this point in time, away from the conventional, regular, everyday, traditional politicians. I'm not taking your opinion. I'm just saying that these are the arguments people have.
So we're online. We're also everywhere. We see these arguments.
Right.
Truly, and I can attest to the fact that these are truly the arguments people have.
3 more headlines to go from the Daily Times today, and then that will be it for it. It says at the foot of it, Rivers crisis, Supreme Court dismisses Fubara's appeal, reserves judgments in 4 appeals. African setups secures $289 million in January 2025 in 1 month. That's mind-blowing. African setups secure $289 million in January 2025. National Assembly Commission board tenure expires, and the President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, says, look, we're not considering an extension for you guys. And then lastly, on the foot of the front page of the Daily Times, the headline here reads, no Supreme Court ruling against Fubara. Jumbo Steel Speaker, that's position there, talking. Okay, lastly, let's see how we do a run through on the Daily Independent. That's our last paper.
Okay, let's quickly look at the headlines of the Daily Independent before we bring you the Global AM News. Rivers crisis, Fubara didn't lose case at Supreme Court, according to opposition reps. Supreme Court reserves judgment on 4 appeals. CJN laments persistent corruption allegations, bias against judiciary. Big Story says Tinubu's 1 trillion naira economy target by 2030 still on course, federal government assures. Rider says inaugurates presidential committee to drive economic inclusion. CBN awaits rebased GDP shift. February MPC by 1 day. We also have 3.2 billion naira infraction. Reps ask EFCC, ICPC to probe ex-Labour Ministry PEMSEX. JAM cracks down on exam fraud, sanctions 6 CBT centers. Federal government reviews private varsities application fee to 25 million naira, holds fresh application. And lastly, we have 2 more headlines. Lekki Ekpe Airport to be completed in 2 years. Lagos State government as aviation stakeholders ask FAN to up its game. Lastly, we have lawmakers asked to stop Alia from selling Benway shares in Dangote Cement. Well, these are the stories we have on the front page of the Daily Independent. We'll take a quick break now, and when we return, we'll bring you the Global AM News, after which the conversation on Global Morning continues. Please stay with us.
Global Morning is your top morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
A Global Morning aims to deliver newspaper reviews and latest news with experts on key global issues.
And at the same time, keeping you well informed about important events, both national and internationals.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of information, helping viewers like you start your day well informed.
Stay connected from Mondays to Sundays to a wide range of the latest news making rounds on Global Morning.
We're on the road to protest.
And the president meets all of our demands.
This is Global Morning.
Hello and welcome to all our viewers in Nigeria and around the world to the Global AM News here on Global Television. Coming to you live from the nation's capital, Abuja, I am Queen Agaba. A quick reminder that Global Television is on DSTV channel 365 and free to air on Nigecomsat. Justice Binta Nyako of the Federal High Court Abuja has indefinitely adjourned the trial of Nnamdi Kanu, leader of the proscribed indigenous people of Biafra. The decision made today follows Kanu's insistence that Nyako cannot preside over his case, citing her previous recusal. Recall that earlier in January, Kanu filed a petition against Justice Nyako before the National Judicial Council, accusing her of judicial misconduct in handling his trial. Gombe State Governor Muhammadu Yahaya has condemned the killing of Reverend Bala Galadima, the presiding clergy of the Evangelical Church Winning All in Lubo community of Yamatu Deba local government area. Reverend Galadima was murdered in the early hours of Sunday by suspected armed robbers at his residence in Lubo. In a press statement signed by his Director General of Press Affairs, Ismaila Misili, the governor strongly condemned the reprehensible act, describing it as an assault on the peace and security of Gombe State that Gombe State has long enjoyed. Former Kaduna State Governor Nasir El-Rufai dismissed claims that he failed to support President Bola Tinubu during the 2023 presidential election, stating that he has moved on from such allegations. Tinubu, backed by the All Progressives Congress, won the election against the main opposition candidate Atiku Abubakar of the People's Democratic Party and Peter Obi of the Labour Party. El-Rufai, a key APC chieftain, has been at the center of political discussions, recently asserting that his views on governance would remain unchanged, regardless of his role in the Tinubu-led administration. Vehicles and other goods, including food items, have been burnt down by an explosion that occurred in Sabon Wuse Tafa local government area of Niger State. The blast reportedly occurred while a tanker was offloading gas at a terminal in the area. It was reported that the fire burnt for hours before the arrival of firefighters at the scene of the incident, with claims that the explosion sent shock waves through surrounding communities as people ran out of their homes for safety. An appeal filed by Rivers State Governor Siminalayi Fubara challenging the leadership of the Rivers State House of Assembly has been dismissed by the Supreme Court in Abuja. Fubara was also ordered to pay 2 million naira to the Assembly and a Wuli by a 5-member panel led by Justice Wani Abaji. The case was dismissed after Fubara's lawyer Yusuf Ali withdrew the suit. The immediate past governor of Benue State, Samuel Otom, has criticized his successor, Hyacinth Alia, stating that in less than 2 years in office, Alia's administration has overseen numerous mass burials. Otom's remarks were in response to Alia's accusation that his predecessors had failed to curb incessant mass killings during his tenure. Alia, while addressing a congregation at NKSC Church Ikayongo, in Gwe East local government area, boasted that since assuming office, armed herders stopped attacking and killing people in the state. In another development, police in Benue State have confirmed the death of 2 people during a fight between rival cult groups in the Wadata area of Makurdi, the capital of Benue State. The clash reportedly erupted around the riverside in Wadata, where the cult groups had gathered for a meeting. Spokesperson for Benue State Police Command, Catherine Anene, says due to the police crackdown on cultism in the state, some cultists traveled to the riverside to hold a meeting. Kogi State Governor Usman Ododo has called for deeper collaboration among security agencies operating in the state to advance the administration's zero tolerance for crime in all parts of the state. Ododo disclosed this during a meeting with local government chairmen, members of the state's vigilante service and professional hunters at the government house in Lokoja. He further stated that if crimes and criminalities will be defeated in the state, there is a need for local government chairmen, community leaders, and security operatives to work together towards ensuring a safer environment for citizens in the state. Minister of Arts, Culture, Tourism and Creative Economy, Hannatu Musawa, announced that the federal government is developing a diaspora city to enable Nigerians abroad to invest and reconnect with their roots. Musawa made this known in Abuja during the announcement of the Motherland 2025 initiative, noting that the ministry is not only focused on reimagining tourism, but also committed to building platforms for economic growth, cultural exchange, and community development. The Forum of the Chief Executive Officers of State Muslim Pilgrims Welfare Boards, agencies, and commissions has raised an alarm that thousands of Nigerian intending pilgrims may not perform the 2025 Hajj because the chairman of the National Hajj Commission of Nigeria, NACON, Professor Abdullahi Saleh Usman, cancelled the Mashir contract. The Forum Secretary and Executive Secretary of Adamawa State Muslim Pilgrims Welfare Board, Abubakar Salihu, who spoke on behalf of the Forum, raised the alarm in an interview with journalists. The Forum comprises the chief executives of all the state Muslim Pilgrims Welfare Boards, agencies, and commissions in 36 states and the Federal Capital Territory, FCT. Kebbi State Government has announced the disengagement of all 21 local government education secretariats across the state. The announcement was made by the Secretary to the State Government, Yakubu Bala Tafida, through a press statement issued in Benin Kebbi, the state capital. Bala Tafida stated that the decision takes effect immediately and the affected officials have been instructed to hand over their responsibilities to the directors of administration in their respective local government areas. The National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA, has arrested 2 suspected drug kingpins at Port Harcourt International Airport and Murtala Mohammed International Airport, Lagos, who excreted a total of 125 wraps of heroin. The agency spokesperson Femi Babafemi confirmed the arrest in a statement in which he noted that one of the suspects, Onye Konike Elochukwu Silvanus, operates under dual identities to evade detection. The Medical and Dental Consultants Association of Nigeria in Southwest Zone has declared an indefinite withdrawal of service by clinical lecturers in universities across the region over non-payment of the consolidated medical salary structure. The association, in a statement jointly signed by its chairman Abdul Karim Salawu and Secretary Omotola Obajolowo, respectively, in Ibadan, the Oyo State capital, says the decision was reached following the expiration of 21 days ultimatum on February 2nd. He stated that the association agreed on the industrial action, having reviewed the expiration of an earlier ultimatum issued on January 13th. You're watching the live broadcast of News Prime on Global Television, coming to you from the nation's capital, Abuja. When News Prime returns, Rivers United sink hard-fighting Lobby Stars, Abia Warriors trash Sunshine Stars. We'll bring you details of this as well as business and foreign stories right after the break. Please stay with us. Many thanks for staying with us. In business, Nigeria spends not less than 1.57 trillion naira on crude oil production monthly, translating to about 18 trillion naira annually, a development which industry operators described as too high. Data collected from different sources, including the Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission, indicated that the minimum any oil producer spends in extracting a barrel of crude oil in Nigeria is about $25. The country's average crude production stands at 1.4 million barrels per day, which means about $35 million is spent daily to produce crude oil. Nigeria's manufacturing sector recorded a poor business performance in January 2025, according to the Business Confidence Monitor report compiled by the Nigeria Economic Summit Group and Stanbic IBTC. The manufacturing sector scored 0.66 on the Business Confidence Monitor (BCM) index for January 2025. This reflects a mildly negative performance, but a notable recovery from its December 2024 score, which was 2.43. Financial experts have raised the alarm that the implementation of the 4% free on-board FOB levy on imports would exacerbate inflation in the country. The Nigerian Customs Service has announced its introduction of the FOB levy on imports. Spokesman for the Nigerian Customs Service, Abdullahi Mewada, stated that the introduction of the levy is in line with the provisions of the Nigeria Customs Service Act 2023. On the foreign scene, Britain's King Charles has paid tribute to Namibia's former president, Sam Nujoma, who has died aged 95, saying his lifelong commitment to freedom and democracy was inspirational and his contribution to history was immense. The current Namibia president, Nangolo Mumba, announced that Nujoma, who led Namibia to independence from apartheid South Africa in 1990 and served as its first president for 15 years, died on Saturday. The king stated that President Nujoma's contribution to history was immense through his leadership of the long struggle for independence and his subsequent service of 15 years as the founding president of the Republic of Namibia. Incumbent President Daniel Noboa has clutched onto a razor-thin lead in violence-hit Ecuador's election after a stronger-than-expected leftist challenger looked set to force a second round-off. With more than 90% of the ballots counted, Noboa had 44.3% and rival Luisa Gonzalez 43.8% official results showed. Gonzalez, a 47-year-old lawyer and single mother of two, told the latest supporters in Quito that they had achieved what she called a great victory by forcing what she termed a statistical tie. President Donald Trump says Palestinians would have no right to return to Gaza under his takeover plan, almost a week after first suggesting the U.S. should own the enclave under the plans. It comes as Trump says he will impose a 25% import tax on all steel and aluminium entering the U.S. The president also says he's planning to impose reciprocal tariffs on countries currently taxing U.S. imports, but did not specify which nations will be targeted or if there would be any exemptions. Still on presidency, Romania's President Klaus Iohannis has resigned following pressure for him to step down ahead of a rerun of a presidential election that was controversially cancelled last year. The December vote was voided by Romania's top court after allegations of Russian state meddling. The outgoing Iohannis, a pro-EU liberal, has said he will stay on in office until a successor was elected in May. French Foreign Minister Jean-Noël Barrot says the European Union would retaliate by replicating any tariffs imposed on it by the United States, warning Washington against a trade war. He further stated that there is no hesitation when it comes to defending their interests, noting that Washington will move this week to impose 25% tariffs on steel and aluminium products. In sports now, Lobby Stars put up a spirited fight against Rivers United, but surrendered all 3 points at the death in the Nigeria Premier Football League (NPFL) Week 23 match played at the Adokiye Amisimaka Stadium in Port Harcourt. After a barren first half, the Rivers United had to labor till the 88th minute when Timothy Zachariah rose highest to head past Lobby Stars goalkeeper Japhet Opubo for the only goal of the match. However, Lobby Stars gave a good account of themselves as they did not hand over the maximum points to Rivers United on a platter. The Nigerian Basketball Federation says 11 home-based players invited for the Tigers' next phase of the 2025 FIBA Afrobasket qualifiers will open Nigeria's camp in Abuja today, with their foreign counterparts scheduled to join them later. The Nigerian Basketball Federation released a preliminary 24-man roster for the third phase of the qualifier set to take place in Tripoli, Libya, from February 17th, 2020. From February 17th to 24th. The Federation also stated that preparations will be conducted in 2 phases, with the home-based players expected to report to camp at Bentley Hotel, Abuja, for the first phase, which will run until February 16th. Minister of Arts, Culture, Tourism and Creative Economy, Hannatu Musawa, announced that the federal government is developing a diaspora city to enable Nigerians abroad to invest and reconnect with their roots. We told you in business, Nigeria's manufacturing sector recorded a poor business performance in January 2025, according to the Business Confidence Monitor report compiled by the Nigerian Economic Summit Group and Stanbic IBTC. On the foreign scene, President Donald Trump says Palestinians will have no right to return to Gaza under his takeover plan, almost a week after first suggesting the U.S. should own the enclave under the plans. In sports, we told you Lobby Stars put up a spirited fight against Rivers United, but surrendered all 3 points at the death in the Nigeria Premier Football League Week 23 match played at the Adokiye Amisimaka Stadium in Port Harcourt. And that's it on the Global AM News. A quick reminder that Global Television is on DSTV channel 365, on Star Times channel 276, and free to air on Nightcomsat. Kindly follow us across all social media platforms using @Global TV NG and other handles now showing on your screen. I'm Queen Agaba. Thank you for watching and see you again.
Global Morning is your top morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
A Global Morning aims to deliver newspaper reviews and latest news with experts on key global issues.
And at the same time, keeping you well informed about important events, both national and internationals.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of information, helping viewers like you start your day well informed.
Stay connected from Mondays to Sundays to a wide range of the latest news making rounds on Global Morning.
We're on the road to protest.
The president meets all of our demands.
is Global Morning.